Friends and family, thank you for joining me here at the American News Network with Chris Sanders. Well, we have the Chinese. They ignited a very huge hydrogen bomb today, and they're using different components. So it's really kind of like that stuff that turned up missing in East Palestine and throughout our trains. But I'm going to show you what this bomb's capable of doing. Right now, I'm telling you, admitted to hacking our water system and our tables, and we have the Western Pacific shortly after the arrival of our aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz. In the region, the Japanese forces tracked the Chinese ships as they passed through the strategic waterways, including the Assami Strait, heading towards the Philippine Sea. Just a heads up, what we are looking at is we need to use military force and take over the Panama Canal, cut this free ride out to China. They've been attacking us with people like Dr. Fauci with their biolabs out of Wuhan. All proven stuff at this point. This is all factual information. And now they're chasing our fleet. We need to understand this is all about the control of the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal and the Strait of Taiwan up in there because they want to control trade. And we've been letting them do it for free, and the time has come for us to stop it. It's the only country that steals patents worldwide and gets away with it. You don't see it happening in Germany, Russia, even India. It's always coming out of China. It makes it to where inventors don't even care anymore. What's the use when you let a dictator named Xi Jinping get away with murder? That's one of the dictators that's bought the world. The other one's Benjamin Netanyahu, as he has violated his obligation talking to Iran, violated an agreement, hits China is expanding naval power. Look, I'm going to tell you this straight out, and this is a fact. How do you think the Houthis have been able to hit Israel precisely? This is where Trump, your cabinet's failed you, and also Biden. They have to have satellites so that they could strategically dead-on hit you exactly where they want to. Now, you think the Houthis have satellites? Come on, get real. Now, they can paint targets. That'd mean they have satellites and spies. But the truth is, see, the only countries that have put that many satellites up there that would be looking at Israel as an enemy that would play a game like this would be China. And now this week it's been proven that I've been correct all along. China is the one helping out the Houthis. They're the ones hitting our Navy, and they're using Chinese satellites to do it. Welcome to the New World War. We're in it. Trump's going to be passing something maybe today. I don't know. It might be the Insurrection Act of 1807. Now, that's very close to martial law, America. The only difference is that he's going to be able to use the police with the military to do a lot of apprehending, probably in people like illegal aliens and over our border, but we might be using that, and we might be doing it immediately. So now we have China. They're boasting about hacking our water systems. I want you to know that. So they're getting very aggressive to us. And we had Putin basically say this weekend, hey, I'll give you peace to Zelensky. And Zelensky was like totally a smart butt to Vladimir Putin on Easter. And he said, well, you don't realize that I've already taken out 75,000 of your troops this week? And he had. And so this was news to Zelensky. And this war is very real. The only thing that we can stop doing is we have to stop arming Kiev. We have to stop arming Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden's cabinet, they got away with murder and treason. And you shouldn't be able to make a pardon for treason when treason obviously happened. And that's just a fact, okay? So we have a new prime minister coming into Germany, Chancellor Merz. And he's already acting like a real tough guy to Vladimir Putin. And so is Karl Starmer out of the United Kingdom, and so is Macron. And as those three want to guide Europe once again into World War III this time, Trump is removing U.S. troops out of Germany, putting them in places like Hungary, places that don't have a problem with Russia. He's basically putting it there like, you know what, you guys are trying to start a fight with the biggest military in the world. And let me tell you, the United Kingdom, you guys have probably about 120,000 troops. In France and Germany, you're no bigger. You do not have Turkey on your side. Who do you guys think you're fooling? Realistically, you need to fire all those woke tards immediately. And you need to get these liberals out of office before they continue to just let your own country be invaded, just as we're speaking. And as far as Ireland, love Ireland. I'm related to the O'Neill dynasty. I didn't know that until 23andMe, but a lot of us are. I'm wanting the people of Ireland to get behind Conor McGregor. You need a real man instead of these women pretending to be men. And you need to arm the people of Ireland before it's too late. I don't care what you give them, but give them the right to take their country back. Same thing with Scotland. Same thing with England. And then slowly maybe Europe can follow, or they could read the book of El Cid and wonder, why didn't they take the lesson that they were supposed to get when they were reading that book about the invasion and about why there's this beautiful Moorish architecture all over Europe today? I want you to know even today, massive protests have hit the street, and that is a pro-Russian position throughout Germany and everywhere else, proving that, my thoughts have been 100%. For everybody out there, I want you to know Happy Easter, for he has risen. And thank God that we carry this type of love within us. And it's so different. And I want you to notice the difference between the United States and our love, and even just how everybody else shows its love. So, and they're amazing things to consider. So these wars, today there was a truce. As soon as it ends, it's on again. And Russia is going to continue to completely destroy the Ukraine. And the Ukraine will be Russia's. I've said this for a while. Now, there is a new AI missile and AI technology that Iran is going to use. So we have 70,000 Hamas troops. We have Turkey coming in. I can also tell you, as far as with Jeffrey Sachs, how he exposed that all 11 wars were pre-designed in 2014. They're 14 years old, 2011 or so, by the Obama administration. But Lavrov has basically been letting us know that this is basically a nuclear pact that's going to go on, and now that there is an alliance, and if we dare hit Iran, you will have a nuclear response by Russia, China, and that's all it takes. And understand, Israel is a one-bomb country. Now, you want to tell me that Russia and China and 2 billion Arabs aren't going to get the job done? I think hate breeds hate, and understand that Ashkenazi Jew, very much an American Jewish man, Benjamin Netanyahu, I believe is Revelation 2:9-39, when a synagogue of Satan would come back down and pretend that he's a Jew and he is not. And that's where all the pedophiles are going, to get away with murder. And hate begets hate, just as love begets love. So make sure that you shod your feet in truth, and you wear your helmet of salvation and your breastplate of righteousness and your shield of faith, and carry around that sword that's the word of God, because there are fiery darts that are coming at us in every single direction, whether it's the waves of the internet or media deception. And we've got to withstand ourselves with discernment to see the truth. And I think many of us have seen the truth, and that's why we're not going to war today. So I want you to understand that Iran shocked Trump, and Trump, was talking with Iran, and Benjamin Netanyahu just goes around and haphazardly attacks him. That's not the move of an ally. It's the move of a maniac. And we have now Putin going on being a minister of peace, and that's not just my opinion. That's him stepping in saying, you got to stop bullying other countries, America. And this property grab we're doing on Palestine is pretty ridiculous. Why are we getting involved? And the whole world is questioning us because we ran on a policy of truth. So on camera, Putin is saying, look, enough is enough. I want peace to be here. Don't let me be Iran's bully. And I'm bringing China with me. And what that's going to do, Trump and America, is it's going to screw up our opportunity to seize the Panama Canal. This is, if you can play chess and not checkers, pull out, because the Panama Canal is really what's going to establish world peace, and you got to concentrate on that first. If you let Benjamin Netanyahu spearhead a war into Iran from his days of basically a Khazarian mafia with an Obama administration, a 14-year-old war, you're going to let Obama's plans go through. Understand that Teddy Roosevelt's plans need to go through. Understand Reagan should have taken back the Panama Canal, and every single president since then hasn't been worth tits on a boar. And you've let China get the power of the United States. You need to be realistic on as to who they are and how they're not our ally. Our ally over there has been Japan, and maybe you ought to understand that, President Trump, by looking at all the Japanese cherry blossoms that are covered throughout Washington, D.C., that have been standing there since before the American Civil War, and understand that Russia took over half of Japan's islands after World War II, starting with the northern Sakhalin Islands. So have we been fair? And if so, let them start their own military. Because right now we have something that's on the brink of a disaster, and it's happening now. Now, as far as what's happening in Germany, as far as what's happening all abroad, this is what was happening at the White House just yesterday. And this was happening at the White House yesterday, America, and this is really what is a revolt against Trump kissing Netanyahu's ass. We want to be a nation of peace. We don't need to follow that dude into every single hate venue he thinks of. He needs to probably take some ecstasy and Viagra and call it a day, and go into a corner and just get out of our hair. We've had it with this conquest of Palestine, and it's obviously not our war. We need to pay attention to the war in which we really have, like I said, and that's China. We need to seize all Chinese properties. We need to kick out all the recent graduates from our schools from China. Understand they're working for the CCP. we need to also cut trade or increase their tariffs by 200% as we take over and take back the Panama Canal. Those are just, just cold hard facts. And, people might want to say all the time, even like people say, oh, well, the property's mine. As Israel's like, hey, this property is ours. It was ours because in the Bible it says it was ours 2,000 years ago. And then 3,500 years ago. And so as such, I wanted to bring this to our attention. The archaeologists of today have uncovered a 3,500-year-old Egyptian settlement in Greece. Okay, it's pretty interesting. So, we're learning all of these things, and we're also learning about what's underneath the pyramids and how there are these other dynasties and how our civilizations are way older than we all give ourselves credit for. Even when we were interbreeding and becoming humans and Homo sapiens and interbreeding with Neanderthals. And just an interesting thing is that we found, it to where they're on both sides. In the United States, we're going into war with the Houthis, and as we're moving on in, what we're learning is we are taking on and fighting our own gear. What do you mean? And it's recent gear. What do you mean? Well, somehow they got a hold of all of our U.S. equipment. Well, I know how they did that. They did that because Jackwagon Joe, the way he pulled out wasn't the way his dad did it. That's why we have Jackwagon Joe. And speaking of mistakes, we got the mistakes of General Miley and Lloyd Austin, the chef from South Park. And the Taliban then had all of our gear. They've been passing it out. Yeah, they've been passing it out. Happy Easter Sunday as our boys out there are facing the treasonistic actions where the last administration violated the Constitution in what is known as bribery by aiding and abetting the enemy. I'll repeat, they aided and abetted the enemy. The enemy now gave those munitions to the Houthis. The Houthis are now shooting our own troops and our Arab allies with our own munitions because the previous administration created treason openly, just on in front of everybody, and got away with it just like they got away with the election and everything else the Democrats do. But let's blame it on DEI and the homosexuality of hummingbirds in Afghanistan. Okay, so basically that's what's going on. And we are taking on, and the United States Army is in panic as the Houthis get American weapons ahead of time, and somehow we're going against our own gear. Now, Trump, Pam Bondi, Attorney General, if this is not grounds for you to go after Lloyd Austin and General Miley and Bibi, and Joe Biden, in accordance with Secretary of State Blinken and his countless treasonistic charges of just doing haphazardly whatever he wanted without the authority of the president. You need to go after the auto pen, but all of these things, Attorney General Pam Bondi, this is treason. And our soldiers are taking fire right now with our own equipment because of the treason committed by General Miley, General Austin, and Jackwagon Joe. These are facts, and you can't let this previous administration get away with this. You just can't do it. Zelensky, you need to get rid of yourself. You're not a president. You're an American puppet. So are you, Benjamin Netanyahu. Why are our puppets destroying the world, and why are we allowing them to destroy the world? So to the rest of the world on this Easter Sunday, I want to apologize on behalf of the United States for us having evil puppets. Couldn't tell you why we have Zelensky around. He's been horrible for the Ukraine, and Trump's trying to graciously exit as that guy is literally smart-mouthing Putin until everybody in the Ukraine dies. Evil Jewish Antichrist man. And it's nice to see a commonality with Christ and taking time off. And Russia now has 99.5% control of Kursk and all of the wartime trenches. And they perfected in this time how to go against all of our smart munitions. And all the gear in which we've donated is a testing field so that Russia knows exactly what we're looking at. And they're being very lenient on us. Now, Jeffrey Sachs, who is an American Jew, was a part of a lot of stuff and can reveal in great detail as far as what we were doing and what we were allowing to happen. And I told you before that this was all an Obama plan, but he's going to talk about Operation Timber Sycamore. In Operation Timber Sycamore, as we go into an Insurrection Act of 1807, it's very much like martial law, but the difference is that the Army will be working in conjunction with your state and local law enforcement. So this is as we're going after like cartel members or deporting people by the masses. The Insurrection Act of 1807 will allow our United States military to work in conjunction with local, state, and law enforcement. So that's a heads up. It's very much like martial law, but our state and local politicians will still keep their positions, but they will have the added enforcement and firepower of our United States military. Today also, the United States closes 27 embassies. If this is not a sign of going into World War III, I don't know what is. 10 embassies in 10 nations and 17 sub-embassies. Also, I've talked about how many Jewish judges have been crooked, and understand that Judge Boasberg came from Dutch Jewish settlers. And because of him going against thinking he has the power of the president, another Jewish judge, we might have the Insurrection Act of 1807, because this would be the president's way of trumping all judges. Okay, so that's just what that's caused up. Remember, this week, 75,000 Ukrainians died. And there is a Lakud from Netanyahu that has been exposed as Hamas gets 70,000 troops. Turkey says they're going to enter the battlefield. I want you to hear what Jeffrey Sachs says, and this is something to hear. And it's pretty interesting.
Years. The outcome of this war is what the CIA wanted back in 2011, which is that the jihad group would take power in Syria after being armed by the United States. The reason I want to be clear about this is that we will not have peace in this region until we have public diplomacy that is based on real diplomacy, not on CIA operations. And we will not have peace until Israel stops its militarization of the entire Middle East. Because the Syrian war is just one of 6 wars that Israel has promoted, including in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Somalia, and Sudan. We had the list, actually, from Wesley Clark back in 2001, when he was handed a paper in the Pentagon that the goal was 7 wars in 5 years. The only war that hasn't taken place yet, to Netanyahu's great consternation, is the US war with Iran, which Israel is still trying to instigate to this very day. So the Syrian war is part of a regional tragedy. We have tragedy in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Sudan, South Sudan, and Libya that I put at the hands of the United States government and its ally Israel, because none of these wars had to happen. These were all wars of choice. They were all wars that came from the idea of regime change operations, that the United States would determine which regimes operate in which countries. We'll never have peace in this region if outside imperial powers like the United States are dictating the terms to this region. The only way to have peace in this region is if this region is determining its own future, not outside powers. And Israel could never do these wars on its own. These are American wars. America provides the financing, it provides the military backup, it provides the naval support, it provides the intelligence operations, it provides the munitions. Israel couldn't fight.
And also to limit the diplomatic presence of the U.S. abroad. And reports suggest the Trump administration is looking to close nearly 30 overseas embassies and consulates globally. The proposal contained in an internal departmental memo recommends closing 10 embassies and 17 consulates in a move aimed at reducing Washington's footprint at the U.S. diplomatic missions in several countries, especially in...
All right, so they're saying that that's what it looks like to them, not to me. To me, it looks like we're lining up who we're going to fight in battle. As you can see, Republican Congo, South Sudan, Somalia, Central African Republic, Iraq, Malta, Luxembourg, Germany. These are places that we're pulling out of because, and these are the first initial ones, I'm going to let you see: South Africa, France, UK, Germany, South Korea. That's a very interesting one for us to pull out a consulate there. Now, the South Korean thing, that's because of BRICS. But here, UK, France, and Germany, what is that about? Well, it's because those three countries are the ones that are trying to start a war with Russia the hardest, pure and simple. So you have France, Macron, Starmer, and Merz coming in. And so we have the people leaving of Germany protesting because perhaps that election was just as bad as our previous one was. So we have a lot of stuff. Now, something else I was talking about, it's the new hydrogen bomb test. Now, this is pretty freaky stuff because it's the exact chemical compounds that were stolen from us. Okay? Now, they have a new hydrogen bomb. They're following our ships. Keep in mind, they can mass produce the hydrogen out of the ocean as they're trolling behind us, and they're mixing it with magnesiums. But look at the size of this bomb going off here. Let me back it up. Okay. Look at that, baby. That is an actual bomb going off there. Look at that. Look at that. So this is what China just did just yesterday evening, set off a massive hydrogen bomb. And listen to this. So they're using a different type of formula. Okay, so listen. So China is basically really going after this.
Temperatures of 1,000 degrees Celsius. The bomb developed by China's State Shipbuilding Corporation's Research Institute allows precise control over blast intensity. Researchers say it can spread uniform destruction across vast areas and also carry out a concentrated strike on a single high-value point. Unlike nuclear bombs, the hydrogen bomb uses a material called magnesium hydride that is capable of storing more hydrogen than pressurized tanks. This concentrated ball of mass ignites with minimal ignition energy and unleashes sustained flames of hydrogen gas that race outward rapidly. China is ramping up production of magnesium hydride. Beijing has developed a big factory in Shaanxi that can make 150 tons of this material each year. Apart from military use, the device can also be used to power submarines.
All right, that sounds good to me. So what you're noticing here today are Christians, Palestinians, Arab Christians, Jewish Christians getting beat up by Israeli military. Nope, we can't have Christians praying in Israel. What? Well, don't you Jews realize that if the United Kingdom and America didn't kick ass and save your remnant from Hitler, your asses wouldn't be here today? Huh? Goldberg, did you not realize that? No, we're too hard-headed to realize that, Chris. Huh, go figure. Well, you know, in the Bible, if you read it in order, it says, you know, Israel has won and lost many wars. And when they have a leader that strays from God, they lose. So don't go thinking that they always have carte blanche. That is not the case. And when you stray from God, Lashem de Lashem, you know, it is a timber sycamore. And today we have lots of Israeli soldiers and Israeli police attacking Christians on Easter in Jerusalem. This is not, something that I as a Christian American want to see as you're asking help from Christians. Israel. Remember the best one, and I will do a little reading as far as, you see, they think that Jesus was a joke and that it's a rumor, a myth. Even people from Islam believe in Jesus more than Jews do. It's funny, but true. Turkey's military action is about to get involved, and I'm letting you know that. Serbian trailed USS Nimitz carrier strike group. Biggest one we got out there is being trolled by China. How do we take them on? Pete Hegseth says, you know what? We might just have to let them know how powerful we truly are. After the Sabbath, as Sunday morning was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. Suddenly there was a violent earthquake, and an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, rolled the stone away, and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid that they trembled and became like dead men. The angel spoke to the woman. You must not be afraid, he said. I know you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has been raised. He is risen. Just as he said, come here and see the place where he was laying. Go quickly now and tell his disciples he has been raised from the dead. Now he's going to Galilee ahead of you, and there you will see him. Remember what I have told you. So they left the tomb in a hurry, afraid but yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, Peace be with you. They came up to him, took hold of his feet, and worshipped him. Do not be afraid. Jesus said to them, "Go and tell my brothers, go to Galilee, and there they will see me." While the women went on their way, some of the soldiers guarding the tomb went back to the city and told the chief priests everything that had happened. The chief priests met with the elders, and they made their plan, and they gave a large sum of money to the soldiers and said, "You ought to say that his disciples came during the night and stole his body while you were sleeping. And if the governor should hear of this, we will convince him that you are innocent, and you will have nothing to worry about." The guards took the money and did what they were told to do, and so that is the report spread around by the Jews to this very day. Even the 11 disciples went to the hill in Galilee, where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, even though some of them doubted. Jesus drew near and said to them, "I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Go then to all places, peoples everywhere. Make them my disciples. Baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teach them to obey everything I have commanded you. And I'll always be with you to the end of the age." This one comes to us from the Good News translation. "For he is risen." And thank God he had, because none of us would be saved if it wasn't for him. I'm going to pray for everybody out there on our ships. I don't want us to go to war because Jesus taught us. There was 2 that were caught in the act of an adultery, and all the men were around ready to stone this woman. I want to let you know Jesus was given a case that was slanted right there, because if there were 2 caught in the act, where was the man? And we just are able to stand there and accuse a woman once again. Jesus said, "Let he who hath not sinned cast the first stone." Starting with the eldest. The eldest left one by one. Over time, we've known that we have made more sins than others. Over time, this man has seen more sin than others as well. I want to pray that 2 nations, the United States of America and Russia, can bind in the name of peace and love through Jesus Christ, and be a shining example to the world on how we should be, because there is no greater love than he that has given his own life for us so that we could be saved. And that's the foundation of the United States, at least what started us, and that is the foundation of Russia. And I see that foundation from Canada all the way down to Argentina. And we need to protect our brothers in Christ worldwide. So again, as I say, we need to arm Ireland, Scotland, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand. We need to arm our brothers and sisters with the word, and also good old-fashioned munitions, because it's a time of light versus darkness, and it's a time for men to protect their grandparents and our way of life, so that the beautiful things that we remembered as children and the way of life that our grandparents created for us don't just become memories. God bless each and every one of you. And Understand we do not need to go on Operation Timber Sycamore. It is the final operational act exposed by Jeffrey Sachs on Obama's plan. Understand that our troops are getting hit, the Army's getting hit right now with our own equipment because of the treason violations of the pullout of Afghanistan, where we gave this equipment that's been hitting our troops and that's hitting them today. If that ain't treason, then there's nothing that will be recognized as treason. And we know that that offense carries gravity in a rope. And these are those times to answer for those offenses. God bless each and every one of you. And it's time for us to protect our God and our country. Amen.